Okay, great. So now that we've changed the settings that we needed to change, you can see we have one document open in Photoshop, the one we created in the last video. So it's 8.5 by 11, 300 dots per inch, or DPI. That's the resolution. You can always confirm, by the way, the size of an image by going over to the Image menu at the top and down to Image Size, and it will tell you here the size of your current document. So yeah, just to confirm, it's 8.5 inches wide by 11 inches tall. So just the size of a regular piece of copy paper, and it's 300 DPI, or pixels per inch resolution. Cool. We're going to actually create another document right now. So I showed you in the last video how you can do File, New. So that's one way you can do it. But you can also hit Command N, which is what I just hit on my keyboard, and it will bring up the same menu. Instead of having to go over to the menu and say File, New, you can just do Command N, as in new. And I'm going to create another print size document, so it's 8.5 by 11, and I'm going to make this one 150. Right, keep everything else the same. So I basically cut it in half resolution-wise. So 300 is a good resolution for when you're printing things, good quality for output. 150 is what I just created, is good for display-related things. So if you're ever doing a presentation for a class and you want to have it be good quality enough for display, but maybe you're not going to be printing it, 150 is perfect. And it also takes less memory. The lower the resolution of an image in a file, it will be a smaller overall document space-wise. So I'm going to create a third, right? So again, you can do File, New, or you can hit Command N. And I'm going to keep it as a print document again, waiting for it to come up here. Print, 8.5 by 11, that's good. And I'm going to make this 72. So 72 pixels per inch, or dots per inch, or DPI, whatever you want to call it. A 72 DPI image is typically what's going to be coming off the web. Anything you copy and grab from the web is going to be 72 DPI. Now, the size of the actual document might vary, but the resolution of web-based imagery is typically going to be 72, just so that websites can load more quickly. That's why. So now I have 3 documents. So you can see it's a little confusing because you can only see one document at a time. They all actually, if you hit Command 0 to go full screen, they all kind of look like they're the same, roughly, but they're not. So we know just by seeing what we just created, one is 300 DPI, one is 150 DPI, and one is 72 DPI. Okay, cool. So now real quick, I'm going to go to Chrome. I already have Chrome open, and I'm using Bing. So Bing is a good search engine to use just for this exercise, so please do so instead of using Safari or something else. I do like the way that Bing handles imagery, so let's try this. So I'm going to click on the word images, right? So this is going to bring up the image website, and it's basically giving me a lot of images that probably have to do with either popular searches or news items. Okay, so I'm going to actually type in the search engine, or search window, red car, just 2 words, red car. Okay, and it's going to bring up all the images of red cars that it can find. Now, I didn't tell it what size I wanted it. It just kind of brings a bunch of a big wide variety of size imagery. You can actually see, if you scroll over them, they'll show you what the dimensions of that the original file is. By the way, these are just preview images, so they might look like they're all the same size, but it's just because this is how it displays your results. These are not actually the source images that we want to grab and bring into Photoshop. They're just the preview, smaller images. So don't make the mistake of copying this actual image and bringing it into Photoshop, because it will always be small, and when you try to make something small bigger, you're going to lose quality. You'll run into problems that way. So let's do this. We're going to click on the filter, the little funnel icon all the way to the right, and you can filter it a bunch of different ways, but I'm going to filter it by image size. So I'm going to click on the word image size, and I'm going to click large. So it's going to display all the large images. You can go extra large too, but for the purposes of this project, we're going to stick with large. Anything over 1,000 for any project that you ever work on for me is probably going to be big enough. So I would say you don't want to go any lower than 500, because then you start to get into a realm of really low quality imagery. So let's try to stay above 1,000 if you can, and if you absolutely can't find an image that's 1,000 or higher in one of the dimensions, just don't go below 500. Okay, so I'm going to click on the third car, or the fourth car rather. So this brings the larger source image up into my window here. Okay, and it tells me some information about where that car is from, which website it's from, the size of it, the type of image. Okay, here's what you need to do. You don't need to save this anywhere. All I'm going to do is copy it, because there's no sense in saving something that you're only going to use once, bringing into a bigger Photoshop document and clogging your files with it. So all you have to do is say copy image. Cool. And then I'm going to go back to Photoshop, which there's a bunch of ways you can go back to another program you currently have open, but I find that if you're on the Mac, and there might be a similar keystroke on the PC side, but Command Tab lets you scroll through all the different programs you might have open at any given time. So I'm going to go back to Photoshop, and I'm going to hit Command V. So Command V as in Victor, which in most programs means to paste something, Command V. Okay, you can also do it the long way if you say Edit, Paste, right? But you'll see the keystroke is Command V. Okay, so I'm going to click on the next little document here, and I'm going to hit Command V. And then I'm going to click on the next one and hit Command V. Now you may notice that as I click on these different documents, the car looks smaller in this one, a little bigger, and the biggest in this last one. Now this is all the same car. It's the very same image of a car. It's just that these are different resolution size across these three images. So the one that's the largest, 300, that car is going to look pretty small. It's going to have a lot of white space around it. When you get to the one that's 150, it's going to be a little bit bigger. And 300, it's going to be really, 72, it's going to be really big. So just think of it like it's maybe a bigger pool that this car is jumping into. Okay, so if you ever want to scale this, and this is the last thing I'll do before we end this video and go on to the next thing, you can do this: Edit, Transform. So the Edit menu, Transform, you have all these options here, so you can scale, rotate, skew, distort, perspective, warp, rotate, all this stuff. Let's do scale. And you get these handles. This box appears with all these handles. I honestly don't really use the handles along the top, bottom, left, and right sides. I use only the corner handles. And if I just grab, I don't know what your version of Photoshop, the exact version that you'll get through the school is, but sometimes if you're not holding down Shift, it'll do this. Right? So I always hold down Shift as I scale. Now, it may be that the version of Photoshop that you have means that you don't have to hold down Shift. But you'll be able to tell. It's keeping it in perfect proportion, whereas this is kind of like really wonky and not looking so good. Okay? So that's how you keep it in proportion. And once you have it the size you want, you can hit Return on your keyboard, and that box will go away. Or if you don't like what you're doing, you can hit Escape to go back and start over again. Okay, so I'm going to hit Return. Now that car is a little bit bigger than it was. And if I want to do more to it, like rotate the car, sure, we could do the same thing we just did. We can go to Edit, Transform, and find it there. But there is a much quicker way of doing this. Command T. Not just the letter T, but Command. Hold that down and then hit T. And you get the same box. And now you can right-click inside the box and you get the same exact options that were in the menu that we saw a minute ago. So if I want to rotate it, I can do that, right? And then if I'm unhappy with what it looks like, I can hit Escape and hit Command T again and say I'm going to rotate and hit Return if I like what I have. So that's the end of this video, and we'll move on to the next thing in the next video. Thanks.